Hi, everybody. It's Friday, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, the big and furry bovine. And joining me in the panel is Brian. These really begin some of the dog days as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft. And at about this time, when you're at, mock number 714, everybody knows that it's all just a crapshoot. Nobody really knows what anyone's going to do, but it's kind of fun, I guess, speculating to some degree. And we're here to talk about what's happening that might affect our Cleveland Browns, because quite honestly, our sports world revolves around the Cleveland Browns, because the other planets on the solar system, the Cavaliers and the Indians, and I mean, the Indians are in a league of their own. In fact, they should be playing against women like Madonna, and Gina Davis. They are in a league of their own.
It's more like that movie she did with who is his name? The one that always talks like this.
Brian?
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum. Okay.
First girls are easy.
Oh, Julie Brown. Yeah. Okay. But we'll start out. Some of the things that affect the Browns are not like, we're going to guess what the Browns are going to do. We don't have to guess that the Chiefs and the Ravens just made a big fucking trade. And it's really an interesting thing that the Ravens would get rid of Orlando Brown Jr., who is their all-pro tackle. And, this is going to be a very interesting season, because the Steelers, who just signed Mike Tomlin to an additional 3 years of contract, as a sign that the team is just going into full rebuild mode. The Ravens appear to be positioning themselves for draft picks down the line. And knowing what we know about the Ravens, getting rid of an offensive lineman, they must be pleased with what they have behind Orlando Brown Jr. And now, if I'm correct, they have the 24th and
they've got a first, third, and fourth coming back to them. So they're going to have quite a few picks.
In this year's draft, they got the 31 out of this deal, and they're already sitting at 24. Is that correct? Or where are the Ravens on the board?
I think they're 25. I think they're right in front of the Browns.
Okay. So 25 and 31, and you're saying, but Mr. Moohead, why is that so good? They also got a third rounder, number 94, and a fourth rounder, number 136, as well as a fifth round selection in 2022. Yeah, that's right. So that's and what they gave up. It was Orlando Brown, who's quite a good offensive lineman for them. And
Joe Shipley says they're actually 27. So they're the next pick after the Browns.
Well, and here you go with the second round pick in 2021, which is number 58 overall, and a sixth rounder in 2022 is what the Chiefs get. So, Baltimore, the Ravens were disenchanted with Orlando Brown because he tweeted on January 29th, quote, "I'm a left," in caps, tackle. Brown, who filled in for injured left tackle Ronnie Stanley for the last 11 games last season, indicated that his late father wanted him to play left tackle and that he wanted to fulfill that dream. So after trading Orlando Brown, the Ravens are going to replace him at right tackle with free agent Alejandro Villanueva. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Any deal like
the only Steeler I like.
Yeah, right. Alejandro. Any deal likely won't become official until after the draft. He, of course, Villanueva was a 6-year starting left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
they won't be signing him until after the compensatory period is ended. So
yeah, right, exactly. And again, he just visited the Ravens yesterday, so we see what's happening there. And Orlando Brown Jr. is 25 years of age, so he allowed no sacks or quarterback hits and 700 snaps at left tackle. But part of that is because he has a quarterback who plays at supersonic speed. Why are the Ravens doing this? Well, for one thing, they're disenchanted that Orlando Brown don't want to play anything but left tackle, and when he was so successful playing the right side. But I think more importantly, they're going to have to come up with a wide receiver, and I think that this is all part of that plan. I can't help but think that the Ravens want to go after in the first round a legitimate downfield threat. Marquise Brown, it has not worked out to be that guy. And while they have excellent tight end and they have, they don't have the big play guy, and they're going to need that because at some point in time, the running game has people, and if the Browns get stouter in coverage, they're going to need more than Marquise Brown and people of that ilk when Lamar Jackson has to throw the football. So that's what my belief this is all about is the Ravens, Harbaugh will always utilize picks on defense, but I think this year more than anything, with the Browns beefing up their secondary and the Ravens having to at some point establish more of a downfield passing game. It's interesting the game of chess that's going on here as the Browns amp up their secondary, and the Ravens will probably be upping the ante at wide receiver. So, so that's why you like Villanueva, because he was the only one who stood for the national anthem.
Yeah, he is he's an actual combat veteran. So before he started playing football, so yeah, he was the only one who came out.
Fuck him, he's a Steeler. I don't care if he served 6 armies. I really don't give a shit. And whether he stood or he
Plus, he wasn't a dirty player, unlike a lot of the Steelers.
Look, a lot of the players on Steelers were very, very good players. But you say Steelers to me, and standing for the national anthem and all that kind of thing. Hey, personal choice.
Well, it's like Rod Woodson was somebody I respected, even though he was a Steeler, but he played on a lot of teams that were absolute dog shit. So,
and there's Bronk. Touchdown, Tommy Vardell, the Stanford Flash. Thanks for the memories. And Joe Shipley saying, "Oh, come on, Moo." It's like, yeah. I never said that my opinions were particularly popular, Joe. I'm just saying that I think that the Ravens are going to find the wide receiver that they're looking for. The real question is whether or not what the Browns are doing is going to in any way stop this prolific running game that they have that allows Lamar Jackson to pick and choose where he throws the ball and when and how often. And if he's forced into more must-throw situations, I really, and I know what he did against the Browns last year, but everybody could move the ball at will against that secondary. The Browns also still have a chance to beef up their secondary even more, and we'll be talking about that a little later in the program. So that's the big news as far as what affects our, division. The Steelers, the news just keeps getting better and better. Their cornerback Justin Lane arrested and faces felony gun charges. And he was right there in Lake County, Ohio, visiting Lenny the Cow. He was also charged with 2 misdemeanors, driving with a suspended license and exceeding speed limits. He was booked just after 3 a.m. on Friday. He was going 89 in a 60-mile-an-hour zone. When asked why, he said, "You see, They said I couldn't outdrive Tiger Woods. I just had to.
Terrible.
Thank you.
Nice.
Pittsburgh drafted.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh drafted Lane in the third round of the 2019 draft out of Michigan State. 16 games last year, 22 tackles, and his arrest occurred less than 20 miles northeast of Cleveland, where he went to high school. And so often this is what happens when guys come back, and it's what we were so afraid of about Kareem Hunt coming back to the Toledo area. You never know what kind of bells and whistles that's going to trip off. So, more not great news for the Squealers, who are in ultimate rebuild mode and looking for any number of things, and settling on Mike Tomlin because they didn't want to blow the whole scheme up. And it'll be interesting to see if Ben Roethlisberger even stays healthy for the duration of the season. I'm always remiss when there's more NFL illness, sickness, death, and things of that nature that are directly. No, it's not a matter of death this time, but it's might as well be. Former Chicago Bears Super Bowl champion Steve McMichael reveals he has amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, has Lou Gehrig's disease, which is much more prevalent in professional football populations than it is at the population at large. His quote, "This ain't ever how I envisioned this was going to end." He uses a specialized wheelchair that the Bears ownership volunteered to pay for. Isn't that nice of them? After the disease left him unable to use his arms and his legs significantly.
So he's basically Stephen Hawking without.
And they just played the 30 for 30 on the 85 Bears.
Yeah, it's here's another quote. What I
thought my comment was particularly tasteless there. I got no recognition.
No, I said I was laughing at it. I think without the brains, I'm sitting there going, "Yo, absolutely, Adrian."
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, what I used to be is the antithesis of what I am now, said McMichael.
I'm not an animal. I am a human being.
No, his nickname was. His nickname was Mongo, in tribute to Alex Karras's character in Blazing Saddles.
Mongo.
He went on, just a pawn in the game of life. This is a humbling thing, brother. That was his other quote.
By the grace of God, go all of us. We could end up with something like that too. So
it is, but it comes up too often in the football population, and
absolutely.
I thought I was ready for anything, McMichael said, of the diagnosis, but man, this will sneak up on you like a cheap shotting Green Bay Packer. Well, he still has his sense of humor about him. So that's really sad news. And it's not like the Super Bowl Bears haven't had their share of, we're not hearing about Jim McMahon at all anymore, although years ago he said he was losing his memory completely. And
that was in years ago. That was in the 30 for 30. He teamed a pair of doctors in New York, contacted him, and they were using a machine to move a bone in his neck. Ooh. So that the spinal fluid would actually drain out of his skull. So, and he's still living in Arizona somewhere. His big house went up for sale 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, what does his headband say now? Vegetable? I mean, this is.
No, he was. They had him doing 1,000-piece puzzles to keep his mental acuity.
Was he racing a chimpanzee? I'm just curious.
I don't know if he was racing one.
That'd be good. You put McMahon on one hand, and you have the other side of the room. The chimp is a go, and you have the 1,000-piece puzzle.
Hey, you haven't done Pat Subbithead for a while. Is that too unpolitically correct for you to do that anymore?
You're making me do this, and I can't do it in style. Okay, it's like
okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's funny, not funny. It's really pathetic, actually, how they utilized her in such a way.
Yeah, they made her like a poster child.
When she was,
they exploited her. Let's put it that way.
yeah, and when she was still vital enough, right? And then, but nobody wants to see what becomes, howdy, I'm Glenn Campbell. Give them credit because they let him out on stage. Even if he made mistakes, and he joked about it. Everyone laughed about it, and he lived his life as long as he could. It really bothers me when they show a person who's in the first year of dementia. It's like, oh, it's not that bad. It's like, well, stick around.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Stick around. It gets a whole lot worse. So, yeah, and Joe is saying, look at this. Joe is pointing out this upcoming rivalry. The Browns and Ravens have got younger while the Steelers continue to get older. Everything comes and it goes, and the sun rises and the sun sets. And Michael, thanks for your comment. The Steelers are not in rebuild, and I think they can win it all, and we'll draft a running back in the first round instead of
they believe they can win it all.
Yeah, I understand.
They're deluding themselves.
Yeah, no.
Win it all, and they're gonna.
No,
they're gonna be the 1985 Steelers real quick.
Well, and I understand what Michael's saying. I think that the Steelers, by giving another 3 years to Tomlin, and the fact that they have to find a quarterback who can take over because there's only one more year of Roethlisberger, and who's to say what offensive scheme is going to be best for a quarterback, especially, there was no scheme that was good enough for Deshaun Kaiser or Bubby Brister or Mark Malone or any of the other, quarterbacks failed in the NFL. They moved to multiple teams, and they don't do any scheme particularly well. I understand the Steelers are not publicly saying, hey, we're in full rebuild mode, but all the arrows point to the fact that their stock value is on the down, and the Browns and the Ravens, what's interesting about the Ravens is that they're further ahead of the Browns, but not seemingly as balanced. The Browns are going to go in next year with the offense that they had last year, with a lot of the receivers, same players they had. Now, I'll say this about the Browns, and of course we redid, we've, extended, Baker Mayfield, and everyone knew that the Browns were going to do that. But Nick Chubb in 2021, at the end of next year, we have to come up with cash. And, the thing is, the real question about running backs is that running backs notoriously have a limited shelf life in the NFL, and owners of NFL teams are reluctant to give up big dollars to keep running backs. Now, I think the Browns are smart enough that they're not going to fuck with Nick Chubb. But the fact of the matter is there are decisions that are going to have to be made each year. So things can change. But the Steelers, to get lucky enough to have a quarterback who is a 10-year quarterback, let alone a 15-year quarterback, it doesn't happen very often in the NFL. And if you're waiting for that opportunity, you might be waiting a hell of a long time. So,
or you end up with a Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys who are, like the guy. I'm not thinking of his name, who was with the Browns, who was playing.
Jake DeLong.
I'm sorry, Jake
DeLong.
No. The guy who was our sometimes starter, sometimes backup, and who stayed in the league until he was 40. Why am I not even thinking?
Oh, it was Gary Daniels.
Oh, McCown.
Right.
Josh McCown.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's amazing.
No, he was on the Cardinals. He didn't last very long.
No, but I'll tell you, it tells
Josh
you
did.
The Pogues.
What I can tell you is that it tells you everything about quarterbacks. that people like this can stick around for so long is because what's coming up behind them in the younger ranks, so many of them fail. That is the bottom line. And, you know, if they use a pick on a running back in the second or third, you know, they have too many holes to fill. They have to have a beefy offensive line because their quarterback is getting rid of the ball in 2.4 seconds, and they can't expose him to deep dropbacks and surveying the field.
The Steelers, man, they've got more holes to fill than Jenna Jameson. I mean, come on.
And a bowling ball together. It's hard for me to envision that. I kind of looked at what happened last year to the Steelers, looking back at the year and the start that they got off to. And what were they, 11-0?
They were the worst 11-0 team I've ever seen in my life. They were horrible.
And when the worm turned, the worm really turned, because it wasn't that they were, I mean, they were getting good breaks and they were winning close games, but
they were hitting teams right when they were like COVIDed, and they were playing the NFC East like we were. I mean, they had all the breaks in their schedule.
But again, by the end of the year, the age of the team shows. We're looking at a 17-game season, folks, this coming year. I mean, they fell off the edge of the earth, quite literally, along with Kyrie Irving. And honestly, the Steelers look like a bunch of old guys and doddering fools against the Browns in the playoffs to start out a game of such significance the way they did with veteran older players. It was almost like there was just a shutdown completely. That wasn't the same Ben Roethlisberger that I've seen for a decade plus. He just was flipping the ball up there. His throwing motion never looked right to me after the problem he had with his shoulder, with his arm. I just think that they have to rebuild the team. I think that they need younger players. And when you need that many younger players, some might be good, but some, well, not so good. Look at this. Joe's never heard of the expression "when the worm turns."
He must be young.
In Pittsburgh, it's a local a teleplay called "As the Loser Turns."
Yeah. In Baltimore, I'll give you an example of the worm turning in Baltimore. Actually, when Art Modell died and they put him in the ground, a worm literally turned. Okay, there'd be a good example.
One bite and he turned black.
Yeah, fucking Art Modell.
Is he still dead?
He's still
dead.
Yeah. He's still dead. He's not a zombie. He's not walking the earth. He's not like the wandering Modell.
Oh God, I hope that.
Can you imagine that?
That's the one thing I do hope for. We end up with a fucking zombie apocalypse, so I can sit at his fucking grave and take pot shots every time he pops up.
I'll tell you one thing, Michael. I mean, with the Browns and Nick Chubb, there are running backs who, you know, if you have a run-oriented offense, you know, like just like the Browns do, and I'm sorry, I have a sound source that is just go off for no apparent reason. I get rid of that. The whole idea is you could replace a running back if you have this great zone blocking scheme and you can get yardage, and even Isaiah Crowell.
I was going to say Isaiah Crowell or that Benjamin Harrison or William Harrison or
William Henry Harrison. Yeah, right. Harrison Ford. Anyone.
William Howard Taft.
George Harrison.
Yeah,
that guy that saved Mangini's job because we won 4 meaningless games at the end of 1 year. That guy, Jerome Harrison.
Yeah. But I mean, George Harrison, when he was playing Browns in the backfield, they keyed on him. They
recommend Chardonnay today.
They had the line set on him. I don't expect. I don't expect most people to remember that.
My sweet Lord, too.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah, but a second and third round pick ain't going to have the big play capability. The thing that makes Nick Chubb special is
Jim fucking Brown for the 21st century. That's how special he is. He's got the same yards per carry.
6 yards a carry career-wise, but more than that is, he'll get hit in the backfield. But, I mean, there are guys who, Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders was nailed for losses behind the line of scrimmage, literally more than any running back in history. But then it's when he when he got loose, there were these massive gains, and that's what we've seen, out of Nick Chubb. And we have
about Chubb is he's like Earl Campbell in that once he gets going, you can't tackle him.
Eric Dickerson was another one.
Dickerson,
and you wonder how a guy has 2,160 yards or whatever it was in the season, and that's how it happens. You've got to have some big gainers, and he knows he runs in a way, what they call a one-cut runner, where his vision and his feet are in sync, and when he hits that hole, he has acceleration, and you see that when he gets down the field, he outruns people too. I mean, just a rarity.
Outruns everybody.
I mean, if the Browns passed on extending him, that would be the ultimate analytics failure, in my estimation. I mean,
I can't see that.
Now, he could get injured just like anyone else and then lose what it is that he has. I understand that.
That would be horrific.
But I don't compare Nick Chubb to an average running back. I mean, as good as Kareem Hunt is, Kareem Hunt looks average compared to Nick Chubb. He hits the holes and plows people forward because he has such strong legs, Kareem Hunt. But Nick Chubb makes them miss and runs through them and outruns them. And he makes small holes into big plays. And,
the thing about Kareem Hunt is he is the runner that we had hoped that Trent Richardson was going to turn out to be and never did. He reminds me like a good version of Trent Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, everybody hopes
without about 30 pounds.
like Saquon Barkley. When you draft a Saquon Barkley, that's what you're hoping for. You're looking for a home run hitter. And when you're the Cleveland Browns, the beauty of a Nick Chubb is that we don't really have, at least last year, because of the injury to OBJ, didn't really have a home run hitter at our wide receiver position. But we had a big play that could hit you at any time, first, second, or third down. If just a little daylight, and that guy could make big, it was.
Or even on a screen pass.
Not at all unusual for him to just rip off 27-yard gains off runs. And it's like, so what are you worried about a 20-plus yard pass when you got a guy who could run for it? So, I don't think that the Browns are going to I'm not saying they're not going to take a running back. I don't know what the deal is with Kareem Hunt. I don't know what the situation is with all the contractual status. But whatever it is, I can't see them, especially in this draft.
This will be year 2 of the extension, the 3-year extension that they gave Kareem Hunt. So,
right,
at least one more.
Yeah, and I know, Michael, but I know the economics of the game just like you do.
Oh, we're keeping Chubb. Come on.
All I know is that, and I hate common wisdom because common wisdom is the thing that, buries us all. But the common wisdom in the NFL is usually not to give big bucks to running backs because they handle the ball, and it isn't a matter of soft tissue injuries. It's the constant battering and hammering that, you see running backs. Who was the guy who played a number of years ago for the Kansas City Chiefs? He was a really big running back who just ran
Christian
over. Christian Okoye. Thank you. There's a guy who,
I think he's dead, isn't he?
One minute he's there, and then the next he's Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell was another guy who had prolific a couple of years, but then, man, the body he couldn't run over people anymore because the drive was no longer in his legs, and that's the risk that you pose. The good thing about the Browns, everybody wants,
Well, but remember that he played 6 division games on AstroTurf.
Yeah, that's filth.
Yeah. Again,
and that was AstroTurf in the Astrodome, Three
AstroTurf
River
in the
Stadium,
70s.
the old fucking stadium that the Reds and the Bengals played in, that garbage pit.
Hey, I've played on AstroTurf in the 70s. I know what that shit was fucking like, man. That was deadly. That was deadly crap. What happened to Moo? He's gone. Moo.
Uh-oh.
It's just us.
Run amok.
I don't know. Something just, I don't know. It just bounced me out of the studio for some reason. That's funny.
You're back.
I am back. Yes.
He was called the Nigerian Nightmare.
You're back in black.
Amsterdam.
Yeah, but and again, we saw it with the guy that we had, the running back in Arkansas. What was his name? Big fullback who was on the cover of the video.
Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis. I mean, there's only, and people want Nick Chubb because he gets stronger as the game goes on. People want him to carry the ball 25 times a game. And it might be the best thing in the world, but he's not, because a lot of these guys have been utilized that way, and it ends up shortening their careers. It's kind of like relief pitchers, guys who throw too many innings and their arms get thrown out, as opposed to guys like, Rivera, who went on forever. And, with pinpoint control, you count the number of pitches they throw over the course of a career, and they're only coming in really in a ninth inning save situation. They're not like Brian Shaw in the past being asked to do a couple of innings here and there. It's very hard for running backs to overcome the sheer workload of 25, 30 carries in a game. The Browns offense is diversified enough that should not be necessary, and having 2 running backs allows the in and out, and allows him, sometimes we want him on the field for a big play, but the long-term big picture, as Andrew Berry would say, is more important than satisfying the fans.
Well, and especially now with a 17-game season, you want him as fresh in the back half of the season as the front half.
This is a big mistake when somebody invokes the name of Joe Banner.
Oh, Joe Banner.
Wait a minute. Hi, Pat. Your last name reminds me of alcohol. I'm killing it. Seagramson. Did you ever jump pole vaulting? It's an old Olympic joke. I'm an expert. I'm not an expert in football, but what's that smell? Do you smell that? Oh, that's you, Topaz. And never invoke the name of Joe Banner on this program, because he will appear, and and my face gets stuck like that. Like my mother warned me, stop doing that. Your face will get stuck that way. Like, stuck like what? I ended up getting glasses when I was 4 years old because of Joe Banner.
Wow. I haven't done many active for a while. Is he banned as well? Is he not politically?
He may be hired before this is all done with the Indians. I mean, honest to God, poor.
Hey, that game was the live on BT Sport game last night, and I saw us go up 3-0. Then I saw that the umpire was not giving us any strikes, so I thought we're going to get absolutely fucked. And I turned it off in the 3rd inning.
I'm going to talk about this later in the show, because I got a whole rant that I want to get off my chest about them. But not at the beginning of the program, because people come in
Oh,
here and
no.
actually tuned in to hear something that was of value, and the Indians are certainly
Are not of value.
no. In fact, I mean, they're basically of the value that the Indians accepted for Manhattan. Okay, that's the perfect example of the Indians caving
Bunch of
into
wampa.
New York. Yeah, the Indians always cave into New York, to the goddamn Yankees. That's just the way it is. Here was a story that really kind of, I guess it's a cruel world.
How cruel is it?
Well, I've come to the conclusion that it's hard to feel sorry for anybody, because you take sides on things and then you find things out. It's like,
And then you wish you hadn't.
yeah, it's like, well, they weren't such good people after all. Well, you have the owners in football and you have the players. And with the rule changes in the NFL, and we're going to kind of sync these two things together, you take a look at what the rule changes are right now that are up as far as the NFL is concerned.
The No Fun League.
Well, I mean, for one thing, to me, transparency is the biggest thing lacking in the NFL, because
Absolutely.
instant replay is just false. It's bogus. I mean, they could be looking at something and you're looking at it and it's like, no, not even close. You totally missed it. And then you realize that it's the same teams getting the advantage and the same losing teams who are on the short end of the stick. So what does the NFL go and do? The NFL owners say, well, we're going to have not an eye in the sky. We're not going to have the guy in the booth who's the replay guy.
That's Alan Parsons' project. Eye in the sky, looking at you.
Which is the same song.
I can read your mind.
As what was the name of that song? Need You Now by Lady Antebellum. That's the same song. They ripped off Eye in the Sky.
They ripped off Alan Parsons.
They did. And Alan Parsons didn't sue him. I can't believe it.
Well, he makes so much money off of Dark Side of the Moon being the engineer on that.
That's right. He just didn't want to press it. And then since then, Lady Antebellum changed their last name because it invoked images of the Old South.
What, you mean like before the Civil War?
Yes, now they're Lady A.
But that's somebody else that already was.
To me, that should be Lady A-Hole.
A-Hole is right. I mean, the people who steal songs are not my favorite. But to go back to the original point of all of this.
There's a point to all this?
Yeah. The NFL, in all of its infinite wisdom, gives a watered-down version of that guy, Eye in the Sky guy. Instead, he becomes kind of somebody who can talk into one of these and get the attention of the referee and say, I'm seeing this on the multi-angle cameras, that people at home are seeing this on Sunday Ticket, and you might want to review this play. And then it's up to the officials now.
That's horrible.
So, I mean, it's like you're in a drive, you're in a hurry-up offense, you're in a rhythm, and all of a sudden, and no coach invokes this. Some asshole who's sitting up at a booth, whatever he's paid to do, well, we can slow this motherfucker down and take the tempo right away. Let them get their defensive people on the field. I mean, I can see this being manipulated in 14 different ways, and it's the least transparent solution. And that's the way the NFL owners want it. They want no transparency in the league. And the reason is because it's a dishonest league, because it is predicated on gambling money. And we know we're at the end of everything when we're watching Indians games on the Bally Sports Network. Everything has absolutely lost ability.
Hey, how did that happen? Because I've lived in a cave. How are they what happened to Sports Time Ohio? Explain this to me. I saw
they were bought and rebranded. And how do you think fucking Pete Rose feels about being out of the Hall of Fame now? I mean, it's like he's watching the games on Bally Great Lakes Network.
They bought the one for Arizona too.
Really? Is that even legal? I mean,
But not anymore. Nothing's illegal anymore. Nothing. There is nothing that I know of that's illegal, really. And the thing that makes it so sad is
How
that,
sad is it?
well, the amount of dollars that are being spent on gambling really, and it's not going to upset the fans. The fans are going to think, oh, that's cool because we're gambling diseased people.
Hey, the match of my disgust yesterday, I turned on the Indians game on BT Sport, and I see that B symbol at the top. Thinking, oh, that's like Valley Sports. And then I hear fucking Underwood and Manning. I'm going, no. I don't want to hear these assholes. What's happened there?
And not only that, but you know what they're doing during some of the programming on what was formerly the Fox branded networks? They have betting odds right on the fucking screen. And it's like, this is the straw that stirs the drink. So they don't want transparency.
Well, plus they have a betting show on FS1.
Yeah,
I mean, that's worse than that's about as bad as things are in England. I mean, you can't watch a Premier League game over here without getting 5 different betting ads at halftime. So,
and it's they don't want transparency. So a conversation, and the thing that's incredible is the head linesman or whatever he's called on the NFL field. He can hear in his headset what the guy up in the booth is saying. Nobody else can hear it.
Yeah, he can say, it's time to fuck the Browns over and give the ball to the Ravens because they paid us more money.
He can say, I think we will take a look at it, or he can ignore the guy in the booth. Yeah. So you're still paying off the one guy who's the head linesman. And let's be honest about it. We've seen it a gazillion times where the ball gets placed. I mean, there could be a guy up in a goddamn booth saying, no, that's the wrong spot. Look, they're showing it on television from 6 different angles. And it's like, nah, I'm not paying any attention.
Those spots of the football are the worst. How many times have we seen that where they spot the ball and then they suddenly pick it up and move it back 4 yards?
Do you really think that as much as it takes 3 hours to play an NFL football game, that this little voice in the background is going to be heard very often? Because it will slow the game down to an absolute tortoise crawl.
Oh, it's bullshit as it is with the stoppages.
Yeah. I mean, so there's no
football's the worst, though.
No transparency. Yeah, no transparency. So
ignored harder than a conscience at a frat party.
But now I want to finish this so that you understand why it's hard to choose sides, because with the owners, they're just inherently dishonest and they will do whatever they have to do to avoid transparency. The players, on the other hand, they're the ones who come off as being the altruistic people for the love of the game, yada, yada, yada. Here is the latest breaking story. NFL players' investments funded controversial high-interest loans. I'm going to make this real sweet, short and sweet for you. Former NFL players, including Von Miller, Nick Foles, and Mark Brunell, were used in a complex investment program designed to profit at the expense of low-income borrowers.
Yay, subprime mortgages. They were lending money out from their salaries to do that. Wow.
Now get this. This is unbelievable. The players invested in a now defunct company that funded a separate business targeting Texans with troubled credit ratings who needed quick cash. You need a cash settlement and you need it now.
APR 4,999%.
And these people in Texas were putting up their cars as collateral on loans averaging $1,000. But because of fees and interest in excess of 300%, 300%, borrowers would agree to pay hundreds of additional dollars to repay the loans. The so-called auto title loans are legal only in Texas. And that'll tell you something about the shithole that Texas is.
If there was Sharia law in Texas, that would be illegal. They wouldn't be able to do that because you can't have that.
Texas is the most ridiculous state that exists. I mean,
Texas should be its own fucking country, and then they just build a
Once
gigantic
upon a time, it
wall
was.
around. Yeah, it should be its own country again. It's like in 1845, 1848, or whatever it was.
They call themselves the Republic of Texas. So
Fuck
right
them,
in
they
their
should
constitution.
build a wall around the entire state.
so the remarkable thing is these auto loans, title loans, were only legal in Texas, and they were prohibited in a bunch of states because they prey on people who lack access to traditional banking resources. But the thing is that...
Well, I can tell you that here in Arizona, they had a problem where these places were setting up outside the Air Force base, and they were taking advantage of military personnel.
didn't stop players from investing in it, did it?
Oh, not at all.
You know, how are you going to fight that the players are fighting for this and fighting for that, and they're just money grubbers, just like the fucking owners are, and they're taking advantage of people who have no money? I mean,
who's that twat who made a dick out of themselves on Hard Knocks? I'm trying to think of the Browns guy saying if you got the $1 million and you invest, it's like Carl Nassib or somebody, wouldn't it? You know, so we're going to look after your money and your
No,
it was Nassib, I think it was.
I thought it was an offensive lineman.
I think it was
the guy who was in charge, Joey Fest, Joseph Joey Fest. He was the guy.
Joey.
Yeah, Joey,
That's,
right?
That's a name you can trust.
Yeah,
He
probably is part owner of the Bally Sports Network team. He was the one in charge of this whole, deal that was going to pay investors $40 million, and they were stealing basically 300% interest, loan sharking people. And you say to yourself, well, God, what punishment was there? You know what Joey Best's punishment is? He's still a financial advisor to NFL players without the union's official blessing. But he still goes on representing people like Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, and Miami's Tua Tagovailoa. That's, great, isn't it? So, there is nobody was charged with any crimes. None.
I'm applauding your ethnicity, going after usury, really. That's awesome. So,
yeah, I just, I promised I was going to say something about the Cleveland Indians. I'm not going to lie.
You don't really have to. You do.
No, I do.
You dirge now.
But before we leave Texas, I wanted to ask Brian. We were talking about Texas. How's Key doing?
Well, Key's in Edmonton, so.
Oh, you mean Stephen Rhodes?
She's over the border.
No. She's in Alberta.
Yeah. That's Edmonton.
Is it?
Calgary and Edmonton are the two big cities. Yeah.
Why don't you check out the Facebook where it says lives in Alberta, and it will list it as Alberta in the Republic of Congo. Oh, I'm not making, and there are 24,000 other people who have recently moved to Alberta, Republic of the Congo.
What? What are you talking about?
I'm just telling you the truth.
Oh, man, that's funny.
She went to Katy High School in Katy, Texas.
Yes.
Yes. And there are pictures of her in Texas. There's a picture of her with Steven in Texas.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Look, I love you. I love you.
She knows. She knows the blobfish, and the blobfish knows some of her friends.
Yeah. So I don't know. You might want to ask her when she moved to the Republic of the Congo. This is an online thing. This is an online.
I'll get her to fix it.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting thing. I was looking at it like, look at all the people who are saying they've recently moved to Alberta.
I wonder if that's a Facebook thing.
Yeah, it's probably some Facebook fluky thing.
Yeah, but I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know me. Now, the Cleveland Indians, look, and then now I sound like Joe Biden.
Well, look, guy here, come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man. Look, come on, man. There's always a player who is representative, okay? And the Indians have a bunch of them. Yeah. First of all, Jake Bauers.
Jake Bauer. Oh, God.
How can Jake Bauers possibly still be in the major leagues? I mean, the guy can't hit but 200, can't make contact, has no power, and he's not a good defensive player. And he just keeps making the team over and over again.
I mean, he's like Kevin Costner. I mean, he's like the classic 4A player. It doesn't belong in the minor leagues and doesn't belong in the major leagues.
Joe, okay. The rotting corpse of Art Modell. You can suck my dick, Art. Suck my dick. Okay, that's my apology to Art Modell.
Fucking Art Modell.
So that's the first guy right off the bat. It's Jake Bauers.
The three of us have very different political views, but we all agree that Art Modell is like Satan, don't we?
Yeah, he's right where he belongs. There's no doubt about that. But Beelzebub, 6 feet closer to Beelzebub. Yeah, but so there are guys that you remember from past Indians failure teams that kept coming back and back like a bad taco.
Chisenhall, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, got people who was like, why do they keep? And then even guys like Russell Branyan, who they kept and kept and kept, they finally traded, and then they brought him back afterwards. I mean, this is just like being in this maze,
The never-ending saga of Jason Kipnis.
You're right. Exactly. I mean, when he's obviously washed up, and we're not moving forward.
And they tend to be like useless white guys too. Not to make a point here, but and again, Carlos Santana, they seem to bring back every other year, so he'll probably be back next year.
I'll tell you the other thing that's remarkable. How is Austin Hedges a major league player? The guy hits as badly as a pitcher. I mean, we have, for all practical purposes and intents, when he handles the pitcher, a pitcher who's forced to bat in the American League.
Exactly.
The guy's horrific. He's never cracked 200 in his major league career. The guy's awful. He stinks. He sucks. I don't care how well he handles the pitching staff. Fuck that shit. If you don't have somebody in the minor leagues who can handle a pitcher who can't hit any better than 200, I mean, you have to have somebody somewhere. I mean,
we used to have Victor Martinez and Sandy Alomar Jr. and now
hell, you could get Sandy Alomar Sr. to fucking go out there and hit 185 or whatever.
You get fucking Kevin Costner to hit that.
What player has big success with Ty Von Berkeley as the goddamn hitting coach? This has been going on, this massive, and you know what finally just made me blow my top about the Indians?
What made you blow your top? Have a drink.
Josh fucking Naylor.
Josh Naylor.
Josh Naylor is the perfect representation. He's a man without a position. And he doesn't care enough to lose 25 pounds like he needs to do. He's fat. He's slovenly. He can't field. He Bill Bucknered us, and just in yesterday's game, he kicked the ball to the right field wall. He's fat. He's slow, and he's selfish to boot, with a man on third and one person out when we could have tied the baseball game. What does Josh Naylor do? He swings at 3 successive fastballs that are even with his nose. This is what we're dealing with. He's like, I'm not going to let the next guy get the RBI. Fuck no, I'm doing this myself. Tired of it. Just totally fucking tired. It represents such, and Francona should leave. The guy, I mean, I don't know what this is. He's sitting there going like this, rocking in the dugout. Well, he's
Rain Man. Up and down the driveway every day. Time for Wapner. Time for Wapner.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching this guy fall apart, and he limps. I mean, his body is ravaged. Why do this to him? The guy was really a good manager.
That's a Hall of Fame.
He's turning into the fucking Elephant Man.
And I'm looking at from top to bottom. It's like, so you're telling me that the reason that
you mean the bottom in the sub basement?
that Jimenez got the job at shortstop because he could field better than Rosario? Well, I'm looking at him and going, well, I know that I've been looking at Francisco Lindor, who's a better player, but no, he doesn't field well. And, I'm just looking at this team and saying Jordan Luplow leads the team in home runs.
Phil. That's total filth.
I mean, it's a garbage roster, garbage players, and they don't make contact with the ball, and they're making the most ridiculous errors. The Yankees come in with national press that this is the worst start they've gotten off to since 1966. All right, and they're terrible, but they're going to get fat on the Indians. Guaranteed. Oh, you're going to just get fat on the Indians. The Indians just can't. I mean, we do not have a major league roster. And I'll say it for the umpteenth time. I don't want to hear complaints about mid-sized markets.
Correct.
If I wanted to have made hundreds of millions of dollars, I would have needed a lot more money than I had to buy radio stations in Boston, New York, and Los Angeles. That wasn't going to happen. For me to sit there and make excuses that I was in Danville, Illinois, Flint, Michigan, and Binghamton, New York in radio markets. And
Spokane.
And Spokane, Washington. These are markets that are not looked upon as,
prime markets.
Yeah, these are not garden spots of America, But I don't make that excuse saying, well, the reason I didn't do this or did this because it's a small or mid-sized market. I mean, we did really well. I really loved living in those places because they were very good to me. The Indians, if you can't afford to be in the business, don't be in the fucking business. The fact of the matter is that if you don't have the money, you can't go into the stock market. Don't gamble money you don't have, okay? Right. And if you can't pay the contracts, and I'm not saying $341 million for Lindor. I'm not saying that. If you're trying to cut your payroll to $50 million in 2021, I mean, you're not serious. You're not serious about owning a Major League Baseball team. All you're interested in is being the welfare recipient of the collective earnings of Major League Baseball and being paid to be Little Orphan Annie. Right. That's all it is.
We had a bigger salary back in before 1995, back when we were at Cleveland Stadium. The 94 team had a bigger salary than $50 million. I'm sure of it.
But I mean, hey, Michael, thanks a lot for joining us, Michael. I appreciate it. Good input. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good sort of Parma name he's got there, Grodowski.
He sounds like a Parma guy. Yeah.
Proper kielbasi and all that shit.
Halupki. Yeah, I'm speaking his language.
Halupki.
Yeah. But you don't invest in something that you can't afford, and to put garbage on the field.
The thing is, it's the fucking Dolans, though, isn't it? The Dolans are billionaires, so we get back to that argument again.
It isn't. I mean,
are they though?
Well, I'll tell you, the billionaires, the true billionaires, to them, this is, the guy Cohen who bought the New York Mets and is paying out these ridiculous salaries to people.
Oh, yeah, the fucking guy who should be in prison for all the shit that he's done in his life.
If you have to compete with guys who are that wealthy, I mean, it's going to become an oligarchy kind of thing if it's not already.
Russia.
Well, and Major League Baseball is for the wealthiest and for the biggest markets and all of that, and has been for some time. But if you can't afford to put anything better than a AA, AAA level team on the field, don't charge people major league price for that. And fans, don't go out and watch it. Don't support this. I mean, eventually the Indians said, we want 40% occupancy in the stadium. I don't think you can sell 14,000 tickets to see this horse shit. Honest to God, it's bad.
The Jacobs Field's like 35 to 39,000. I can guarantee you that 10,000 of those seats are absolute shit. You go sit up in the left field upper deck and see whether you can even hear the fucking baseball come off the bat. There are some really bad seats at Jacobs Field.
Well, and I'll end the program on a good night note. Humpty Hump is dead.
Who's dead?
Digital Underground, which was
Digital Underground,
a hip hop band. In
the Humpty Dance is your chance
to do the hump. Right. Exactly. In the 69, my Humpty nose will tickle your rear. That was him. He's dead. 57 years old. We don't know. He died in Hillsborough County, right up north of me in Tampa, but we don't know how it happened. He was just in the
NFL.
COVID vaccine.
No, I don't know, but I mean, his name, he was known as Humpty Hump with Digital Underground, but he really was Shock G. That was the other name that he used as a rapper, but dead at 57. So, and Humpty Dance was huge when we played it in Flint. And so I wanted to give my props out to Humpty Hump and his nose. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. It's Friday, which means not Rebecca Black. It means that Monday.
In the front seat or the back seat or the, party.
See you Monday, Key.
In Texas.
How was your birthday anyway? Did she do steak and blowjob day for your birthday?
Oh, that's a personal question.
She's in Edmonton. I'm in Phoenix. How is that going to work?
Virtual steak and blowjob day.
She's in Texas. She's closer than you think, man.
She's not in Texas.
Yes, she is.
No,
The prairie dunes are like perfume. Yes, she's there. She's there.
Maybe she's one of these gold diggers after Brian's money.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
All three lint balls.
All right, everybody. We're just having fun at a person's expense who isn't here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Back again on Monday.
Thanks again for the ambiguously gay duo.
Yeah.
Ace and Gary.
So we'll be back again come Monday with more
crackers.
Meaningless information for you. Until
You're
then,
Ace, Bronk.
hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
See you later.
Take it easy.